The following is a presentation of the Sovryn Tech podcast feed.
Woo, the man of tomorrow is here for another Sovryn Shorts. That's right, where you get to get in. The Golden Stallion, the man of tomorrow, Savzu, the rated R radio star. Well, I get to get in. He's saying you can get into my shorts? No. Where I get to get into little stories, little subjects. And, you know, this is one that actually isn't that little. It's a big story, and it's an important one to get out there. I don't think it's caught enough attention. I am hoping that it gets enough attention that Firefox will walk this, or Mozilla will walk this back. And what are we talking about? Well, as of version 93, actually as version 92 of Firefox, there is a new feature called Firefox Suggest. So I am going to read from The Verge what this is all about. It's a quick story, and then I want to break down, what the issues are here, because as I go through it, you might engage in a bit of what-about-ism. What-about-ism is when I say I have a problem with X, and then you say, yeah, but Y does the same thing. Here's the problem with what-about-ism, okay? Because you're saying, what about Y? They do the same thing. The problem with that is it doesn't resolve that X is engaging in malicious shit or in problematic shit. I don't care if Y is doing it. X is doing it. That's a problem. Okay? If Y is doing it, good. They're a problem too. So fuck the what-about-ism. Okay? That's not going to be helpful. So anyway, let me read from The Verge here. Firefox's address bar has ads now, but you can disable them. Well, that's nice that you can disable them. I mean, I'll read the story, but I got to say, I can't believe that headline exists. I can't believe that I read that. Let's go on. The story is from Ian Carlos Campbell, and it's from October 7th, 2021. Here we go. Mozilla introduced a new suggested search result feature in the Firefox address bar as part of the 93.0 release of its browser. That's not too surprising. Firefox Suggest, that's the feature, Mozilla's feature for, quote, surfacing relevant information and sites to help you accomplish your goals, end quote, is similar to suggestions offered by most browsers. But as How to Geek spotted in the company's support pages, it also includes content from paid advertisers. Quote, when contextual suggestions are enabled, Firefox Suggest uses your city location and search keywords to make contextual suggestions from Firefox and our partners, while keeping your privacy in mind. End quote, the support post reads. The, quote, relevant suggestions from trusted partners, end quote, appear at the bottom of the usual search suggestions pulled from your bookmarks, browser history, and open tabs. A less intrusive version of a search ad, but technically still an ad. According to the support page, Firefox Suggest doesn't require any new data to be, quote, collected, stored, or shared to make these new recommendations, end quote. The company only works with partners that meet Mozilla's privacy standards for Firefox. The feature has also been kicking around since at least the previous 92.0 release, even though it first appeared in the current version's release notes. After updating to the newest version of the browser, Firefox might present you with a pop-up asking if you want to enable, quote, contextual suggestions, end quote, or adjust your settings. If you accidentally enabled any of the Firefox Suggest features without realizing it, you can still disable them. And they explain how to do it, in this story. I'll have it linked to in the show notes. So, real quick, it sounds like it's not enabled by default, but you do get a pop-up, which is almost as bad. To get a pop-up is suggesting Firefox Suggest to the user, and the user is probably going to think, oh, well, that might be in my best interest. Well, anyway, that's why I say it's almost as bad as a default, or on by default, or opt-in, or yeah, it's almost as bad as opt-out, like having to opt out instead of having to opt in. But let me finish reading the story here. It's slightly disappointing to have to manage a feature like this. Firefox is a popular alternative to browsers like Google Chrome because it's stricter with users' privacy and generally less data hungry. If you trust Mozilla and want to support it, Firefox Suggest might not be a huge bother. It's also not the first time the company has dabbled in advertising. In 2018, Mozilla incorporated paid advertiser links and Pocket article reading suggestions in new tabs. Okay, so let's break this down. Let's talk about this. First thing, I want to talk about the name of it. Firefox Suggest. This is becoming incredibly common. Okay, I understand from a marketing perspective, as somebody who works in PR, as somebody who has been an ad exec, I understand the importance of giving something a name that at the same time tells you what it does. I get that. Why you want to do that. My issue here is, when Mozilla talks about this, or when developers talk about this, they're not going to call it Firefox Suggest. They're probably just going to call it Suggest. Something I see growing in Silicon Valley is you name features after what they do. And that way, when you're talking about them, again, I get why you want to do that initially, but I think that there's something more nefarious going on. Because when you talk about them, you're talking about it like it's a verb. Okay, so instead of doing what Google did, where they became the verb, you are wanting to circumvent that whole process or bypass that whole process and just have the verb there from the get-go. The problem is I feel like this is a bit of mental manipulation. Okay, that's why I say it's nefarious. I feel like they're calling these things these simple names because they want it to be like they want you to think of using their product just innately, because if you want to do this, you are then, going to do it. Now, you could argue that that's fine, but then I would argue that some of these features and products coming out of these companies are not ultimately beneficial to the individual, especially fucking, serving you ads and targeted ads. We've talked many times on Sovryn Tech how targeting ads are one of the worst impingements upon privacy for the individual and can be a security issue as well. Now, another part of this, we already talked about the issue that, okay, it's not a default, but it's a pop-up, and that's almost as bad as being a default on. This is, frankly, a very clever way to get money away from Google that Google gets to take. I mean, Google makes, they made, was that in 2020 where they made that, I think that was in 2020 when they re-signed their deal and there were the massive layoffs at Firefox and everything. Obviously, Firefox is having money troubles. Okay, but they made that, they renewed their search deal with Google, where Google is the default search engine, which is a problem in itself. But they renewed that deal for what, $400 million. Now it seems like Mozilla basically just wants to make more money. That's not enough. And they need to, they're circumventing Google's ad dollars because now they're just popping the ads right up as you're typing into the address bar. Okay, before you even get to the search engine, or before you even get to the search result, I should say, because, the search engine is in the address bar. So it's clever. I'll give you credit for that, but it's also bullshit. This also raises the very real concern around the address bar, which I have sounded the alarm on for as long as Sovryn Tech has been in existence, for 10 years. Okay, I have told you that address bar is a fucking Wild West as far as what gets typed into it and what can be collected about you. There are completely different rules over what can be done around data collection of what gets typed into that address bar as compared to what gets typed into on the web page that you're on. Completely different rules, and they are worse. Because the only person that really controls that address bar, okay, is the company that makes the browser. My big warning for Google Chrome since the day it came out, and Google, fortunately at the time, was still not evil, or there was their claim. At the time, not anymore, right? At the time, they said that anything you type into the Omnibox, which is what they call their address bar, anything that you type into the Omnibox gets collected by Google. Anything. Now, we've never really had as much clarity from other browser makers as to if they did that, but it seems pretty clear here that Firefox, with Firefox Suggest, is engaging in that action as well. And we're probably doing it before. Because how are they serving you relevant ads when they're also supposedly not collecting, any new information about you, or they don't have to collect new information about you? Like, this feature is just getting turned on and just seems to work. And I also don't think we have a whole lot of clarity of what other data they're collecting. Are they just collecting what gets put into the address bar to feed you relevant ads, or is it other actions that because certainly, again, they're open to looking at, whatever JavaScript, it's all running through their browser, so they could know a whole hell of a lot. And that's what makes this really nasty. I think if any other web browser did it, I don't think it would be a big deal, nor would it be a surprise. Here's the what-about-ism that I'm sure people are going to get into. So this year, in 2021, I did my Ultimate series. I still have more episodes to go in that. I did my Ultimate series where it was, okay, what's the best thing to use whatever? What's the best browser? What's the best VPN? What's the best, or I don't know if I put out the VPN episode yet. But anyway, what's the best this as far as computers go? And I even did like one about what's the ultimate computer. And it's not the M5. But when I did the ultimate browser, my recommendation was the Brave browser. Now, I was really saying none of them are very good, except for maybe Tor, which of course is based off of Firefox. Again, based off, it's a fork. But, I went with the Brave browser. Now, people who want to engage in some whataboutism over what I'm saying, instead of just, saying, wow, this is bullshit that Firefox is doing this, which is the proper response. The proper response is not, well, but what about that? No. Okay. Brave browser. Yes. Brave browser adds like the basic attention token and like the crypto.com ads or the varying crypto ads that show up on a new tab page and all this stuff. Edge does the same thing as far as, ads showing up on the tab page, all of this. Okay. Yeah, Edge does it. Nobody's surprised there because that's Microsoft for you. Okay. So, especially when they run their own search engine, right? But as far as like Brave, it's like, well, Stallion, are you going to say that because of what Firefox did here with these ads, is that an argument for using Brave? But Brave has ads and all. Yeah. Okay. Here's the rub. Brave, it's not, Brave comes off as like a privacy, centric browser, but the idea that there were ads and there was like a monetization aspect to Brave is not, it is like, that's part of the business model. You know that when you're getting into it with Brave. Okay. And if like me, where I think the basic attention token's nonsense, you can turn all of that off. But Brave's bread and butter has been on their sleeve since it came out. Like, we always knew that was the point of it, but they also made it clear in, the ways that they wanted this to work, from a privacy perspective, and otherwise. Okay. Firefox, on the other hand, for many, many years has been talking about, how they are so respecting of the, of the user, how they're so respecting of the individual and privacy and all this stuff. That's where it becomes a problem because, and this is what I talked about even during the Ultimate Browser episode, is that Firefox, we all held to a higher standard. Okay. And when they fall at any point from that standard, which they've been doing precipitously over the past couple of years. I mean, again, I used to be a Firefox diehard. Okay. And ever since it came out, but they just keep taking actions they take political stances. They do all these other things. They keep taking actions that are walking them back from the reputation that they developed over years. Okay. So, and this is just another part of that. This is why it's so bad. Ads are bad enough. Okay. Now, the way Brave does ads and all that, again, they make it very clear how, these aren't like targeted. They're just generalized ads. And I would even argue that like having, Gemini or whatever else as part of the tab page on Brave is banking on the crypto economy. Okay. And if you're somebody that's into the crypto economy, Brave is like, especially if you're somebody that might be, beyond, there's nothing beyond Bitcoin, but if you go beyond Bitcoin, as in if you go adjacent or a little behind Bitcoin, you know, and you're into things like Ethereum that are well behind. Anyway, sorry. You get them where you can, folks. You get the jabs in where you can. But if you're into the larger, you know, cryptocurrency sphere and blockchain sphere, Brave is a no-brainer browser for you to use, right? Because it's integrating IPFS. It's integrating wallets. It's integrating, you know, all of these different like unstoppable domains. It's integrating all these different features. And so for them to have on their new tab page, you know, like stuff from other crypto companies, frankly makes sense. And they're the same no matter who's installing it. They're not targeted. But again, you know, with the basic attention token, sure, you expect something like this from Brave. You do not expect ads getting served to you in the fucking address bar. That, in computer terms, that holy space, okay? You do not expect that from Mozilla. They're the nonprofit, right? Weren't they? They're the ones that care about your privacy. They're the ones that want you to build out the web browser how you know, customize it and build it the way you want. They're the ones that are all about open source and blah, blah, blah. And what the fuck are they doing? This is bullshit. It stinks so fucking high. There have been times over the months where I've said, do you really want to make Brave your top recommendation? You know, and it's like, should we go back to Firefox? Yeah, should we? And then this happens. And it was like, no, I was fucking right. I was fucking right months ago. You know, God damn it. These people. These companies. I mean, this is such a tech giant move, you know, is to make money off of ads in your data and whatever, instead of making money. Like, where's Firefox Premium? Now I'm worried that that's been tanked. Like that they've just dropped the whole plans for that, where I thought that was going to be a great move. Have the VPN, have Office software, have chat software, have all this other shit, right? And charge a fee for it. I mean, Brave's doing that, right? Like the Brave came out with their, first off, kudos to them for coming out with their own search engine that doesn't require Bing or Google as the back end, unlike DuckDuckGo, which I'm not knocking DuckDuckGo. Okay, I'm glad they exist too. But you know, Brave has the video chat software, and you can use it for free, and it's interoperable as long as you start from Brave. It can work with other browsers on the receiving end. But you know, they're very open, and they said, well, if you want to be able to like record with this, if you want to do other features with it, it's going to be $7 a month, and straight out and open. And that's what you want. You want that honesty, right? Honesty that fits within the historical reputation that, say, you know, the developer has built out, which with Brave, again, we knew monetization was part of it. And, you know, as far as like paying a fee to get extra features and whatever with Mozilla, like with Firefox, I would have paid for that too. I think that's totally on point. I thought Opera, you know, 20 years ago was well within their quote unquote rights, you know, to charge for a web browser. Fuck yes. Most important software on your computer, arguably. I would like to pay for it, you know, and know that it's not being paid for by data collection or ads or anything along those lines. Please. Of course, that model's not true anymore. Opera's not run by the same people, but you get what I'm saying. I have no problem with that. If Firefox wanted to be, you know, come out with a premium model, I'm there. I think it's a great idea. I'll pay for it. Okay. Because, you know, there's a value add here, but now you're removing value, because now you're serving me ads. It's not a value add. It's not even a value, you know, it's not a value ADD. It's now not even a value AD, because you're actually taking away the value of privacy that Firefox previously provided. Ridiculous. So in my opinion, you know, either use a custom version of Firefox if you want to do that. They're certainly out there. I know, but even that, like LibreWolf, I still think pulls upstream from the code. And so Firefox Suggest would be a part of it. Tor, well, Pale Moon uses an older version of Firefox. The Tor browser, I think, is the only one, the Tor project is the only one that actually really like edits. And that's why there are multiple versions behind whatever, you know, like Firefox is on now. They're the only ones that really don't just automatically pull upstream from the code. So, yeah, in my opinion, I'd delete this fucker right now. And if you don't want to use Brave, don't use Brave. But I mean, I've said it many times. If you're on Mac, go ahead and use Safari. You might as well. Frankly, if you're on a Windows machine, go ahead and use Edge. I mean, Microsoft's already got you by the balls. Go ahead and use Edge. But outside of that, if you need a modern browser that can handle, Web 2.0 content, can handle JavaScript, HTML5, blah, blah, JSON, all that good stuff, right? Well, it's not good, actually. Look, I'm ready to go back to text browsers. Like, I'm going to pop up links and and I can get on Wikipedia. Good enough for me. Unless you want to go that route, well, again, my recommendation stands with Brave. So, and of course, if you're on mobile, go ahead and install F-Droid, put Fennec on there. That's Firefox based, but they also, are pretty deep in what they do. But that's only on mobile. Maybe when we get to the point where, and because you can put uBlock Origin on that as well, maybe when Windows gets to the point that, it actually has Android apps on there and you can install Fennec on Windows 11. Okay, maybe then rock, Fennec there. But anyway, that, so that Ultimate Browser episode, everything I said in that still stands. I'll wrap this Sovryn Shorts up here. I don't want these ever to go too long. So I will see all of you, on the other side.